Hello and welcome back to the Game Room. This week I wanted to talk about N64 multiplayer games. Specifically, some of the games that you may not think of when you think of N64 multiplayer. We all know the Smash Brothers, the Mario Kart, the Mario Party, but I've got 5 games here that actually have surprisingly good multiplayer. So, let's take a look.
There's a lot of games out there, some of which you've never even heard of. That's where I come in. My name's Luke. I've been playing games since the age of 2, and I have no life. This is my game room.
First up, we have the infamous and great Army Men Sarge's Heroes. Now, this game, I want to say the Army Men series got its start on the PlayStation, which was a lot of fun in its own right, but this is the one that introduced 4-player multiplayer. And you can choose between 4 different colors, so you can have team battles. It's mainly just deathmatch. I really have some false memories of being able to do something that's more akin to a campaign with somebody else, but going through and playing it, not there. So I don't know if that's something tied to the memory card, but I could swear you could go through some missions. Maybe that's the PlayStation one. I don't know. But even then, fun multiplayer. Now forgive me for this footage. I did capture all 4-player multiplayer footage for this episode, but as I'm only one person, a lot of it's going to look really bad. But trust me, it is fun to play, and not going to be anything to write home about, but for the time, if you wanted something that wasn't just your standard first-person Goldeneye, this was a fun deathmatch. This was fun. Next up, we have Perfect Dark. Now, a lot of people remember Perfect Dark for being essentially the spiritual successor to Goldeneye, but did you know it has 2-player co-op as well as 2-player counter co-op? Now, for some reason, my own copy of Perfect Dark went missing. I don't know what happened to it. I went through and I did everything in this game, unlocked all of the different weapons, levels, whatnot. Somehow I lost my cartridge and it's all gone. This is my brother's copy of the game that I think he played 1 hour of and never touched again. So one of the things that made the multiplayer so cool in this game is not only did they have some legacy levels from GoldenEye, I think it was mainly just Complex, it might have been another one, maybe Bunker, but you could have robot players playing in it with you. And then you could even give them traits. There's things like pacifist and super aggressive, so it'd be like you could assign them how they play. And it was just a lot of fun. And some of them you could set the difficulty would become insanely difficult to the point where they would get a headshot within a quarter of a second. My dad and I used to just hang out in the area with golden magnums and try and kill them. And even then it was almost impossible to do. But still, underrated multiplayer. More fun than it has any right to be. Not up there with GoldenEye in my opinion, but the fact that you could do 2-player campaign, like that just... Halo wasn't out yet. It was close, but it wasn't out yet. So this was a really, really cool experience being able to do that. Now another game that doesn't get nearly enough credit in my opinion is Excitebike 64. Now this was the much anticipated sequel to the original Excitebike. It came out in 2000, and unfortunately it came out. It was fun. I had a great time playing it, but no one really talks about it. And the 4-player multiplayer was actually pretty decent. Now, you couldn't do the actual campaign mode that way, but still, it just had a nice floatiness to the driving. You could interact with the players just before, make them fall by putting your... It was just essentially they translated the 8-bit game to a 3D environment supremely well, in my opinion. And there's a 3D map editor in it that I never liked, but just in general, the game was just a lot of fun. And surprisingly fun with 4 people. So definitely, if you haven't played Excitebike 64, give it a shot. But it is a fun one to play with your friends if you are a little over that normal Mario Kart type of game. Now, if you're looking for more of a racing game that has some more Mario Kart-ness to it, we got Destruction Derby 64. And this was a very fun game. I know there's a PlayStation version as well, but doesn't have 64 at the end. And the combat mode, you can do a 2-player mode where you are going through the race. Although the race has a timer, that's kind of the ultimate drawback of this game, is the fact that there is a timer on the race. So you're not only damaging people, but it's just kind of last person standing. But the destruction mode, the bomb mode, the capture the flag with 4 people is a decent time. I always enjoyed it, just seeing the cars crash and explode. At a certain point, if you take too much damage, you're going to lose, but you can still play spoiler and go mess with the other guy. And yeah, a lot of fun. And last but not least is the reason I made this video is the king, Bomberman 64. If you know, you know. Now, back before we had the Smash Brothers, back before we had the Goldeneye, Bomberman 64, I want to say was a 97 release, I think. So there wasn't much out there to play. Like, the N64 was starved for content. But Bomberman 64 has one of the first games where you can have, you know, cosmetics, because throughout the game you can actually collect different skins and alter the way your character looks. You can then plug those skins into the multiplayer. Everyone has their own memory card. And then go through and just, it was just fun. And it's a fun game. It's different take on your typical Bomberman style while still being just that basic, you know, kick bombs, hit bombs. You can get power-ups, you can get downgrades. If you get down to a minute, the level starts exploding or drowning you, or you can play with computers as well. So if you don't have 4 friends to play with, it just all around is a great time. And I'm surprised people don't talk about this. Like for me, with the kings of the multiplayer, you know, you got the wrestling games, Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, Mario Parties, things like that, Goldeneye, obviously, but Bomberman 64, that one's definitely up there. Anyways, that's what we're talking about. That's what we looked at. So these are 5 games that have surprisingly good multiplayer that you should check out, and maybe if they put it on the Nintendo Switch online, it'd be worth playing. All right, it's been so nice getting a hold of you guys. Take care.